Earlier on we spoke to Karan Patel as ngateekera okuvuga event eri on card this weekend. Katubawe ku bichetu asodo kwanga tuwayamuko na then we come back and to reacting ekwecho. Nairobi, you in Nairobi? Good evening, Karan.
Good evening.
Yeah, how are you? How is Kenya? How is Nairobi? You in Nairobi?
Yeah, I'm in Nairobi. Kenya is fine. All set to head to Rwanda for the event this weekend.
You're live on 102.1 Fufa FM and live on Fufa TV as well. I'm requesting you to say hello to our dear listeners and viewers.
Hi everyone. This is Karan Patel here from Kenya.
Okay, we received sad news of the demise of Sean. How have you been regarding Sean in motorsport in Kenya? Oh, he could have been your friend and brother as well as a commentator and a journalist in motorsport.
Yeah, it was very sad news to hear about the demise of Sean Cordovillis, and I think the whole motorsports fraternity and the sports fraternity as a whole are mourning the loss of this iconic voice that was in the sports arena, and so it's been a tough past few days, and we wish his family our condolences, and may his soul rest in peace.
Okay, may his soul rest in peace. So how has the season been for you? We've seen you competing in the WRC, you've competed in the Equator, you're apparently third on the ARAS African Rally Championship, having won both in Kenya as well as in the last event in Burundi.
It's been a season full of lessons, I would say, ups and downs, success and failures and losses, and so as with rallying, there's a lot of learning that comes with it, and so it's been good with some races. As you are well aware that we decided to withdraw from the Uganda rally, and I guess our Safari rally wasn't good at all. So we've made a few mistakes in the past, and then we've had our bad luck in the Safari, but hopefully that will be the end of the bad luck, and we are able to secure our ARC win this year.
Okay, you talked about, let me take you back to, you didn't do the Pearl of Africa rally. Of course, none of you guys competing on the ARC did the event in Ivory Coast. The second one was in Kenya in Voi, which you won, and you had a very own Yasinas and Jasmine got on podium. Then the next event was in Uganda, which was the Pearl of Africa, and you came to do Reiki, and you opted not to compete in that event. The reasons you gave that the roads were not at the standard to host such an event. Could you, in this interview, let's utilize this chance. Could you kindly substantiate on that for our dear viewers and listeners? What did you exactly mean by that? Because you have competed in Uganda before. You were here last year. Of course, you dropped out in the first stage, which was Chivuvu. You came back and did Super Rally. You were here last year. You dropped out in the stage in Chivuvu, the first stage. You came back and did Super Rally, but finally you finished the event. So what did you exactly mean by the roads in Uganda not being at the standards as you put it in your release?
Yeah. So with regards to pulling out of Uganda in this year's event, I guess I used the wrong wording, and the main reason for us not doing the event is because we are self-sponsored, and normally the Pearl of Africa is associated with a lot of rain, and after Iraqi we saw the stages were quite rutted up, and we were expecting rain. So given that we are on a tight budget, there's a high risk of incident, although it's not guaranteed that there would be any incident, but I personally decided not to do the event, only in the hopes of saving some money and saving repair costs on the car in preparation for Safari Rally. So I guess I used the wrong choice of words. but yeah, it had nothing to do with the quality of the event. It was more about the risk involved in participating in the event. Had I not had anything to lose going into Pearl, if there was no safari straight after, and we were sponsored to a level greater than our current sponsorship, then we would have gladly done the event. However, with the current circumstances at that point, I personally didn't see it fit for us to do that when we had Safari Rally just around the corner.
Mm-hmm. But did you look at the weather forecast? Because when you guys were doing recce, it had rained, but during the rally, the entire rally was a dry one.
Yeah, so like I said, we learned a lot of lessons this year. One of them is never to depend on the weather forecast, because the weather forecast told us it would rain for the next 5 days after recce, but actually it was dry for the next few days after recce. So I will never make a decision based on the forecast and just wait till the ultimate or the penultimate second or minute to make a decision like that over again. So it was a tough lesson, and the season is now a mess for us because it's just like what happened last year with our competitor in ARC last year, who took part in Ivory Coast and simply won the event based on the fact that the Ivory Coast points were under their belt, and we didn't take part in the event, although we won the remaining rounds except the Pearl of Africa, where we, like you rightfully said, we had to super rally, although it was driver error at that point where I'm very well aware of why we had to super rally and the mistake that was made in Pearl in 2022, and so it cost us our title last year to miss an event which was Ivory Coast, and hopefully it won't cost us our title this year because of missing out on Pearl.
Okay, good enough. You said you used the wrong word, because the fans here in Kampala were like, why did Karan opt out of the event? He has a very good car. Why would he? People like you feared the roads, given the fact that it could have been a wet rally as you had anticipated. Good enough. You've withdrawn those words, and Karan, you're very, very welcome in Kampala, in Uganda, for any other event, be it Pearl, be it any local event. Kind of find time off your schedule. If you're good enough, good willing, if you have the sponsorship, definitely you come out and compete back in Kampala. Otherwise, you're very, very much welcome here in Kampala.
Yeah, thanks a lot. We would like to be back. Obviously, we and I personally apologize to the Ugandan fans and followers and those that may or may not support us. Still, the apologies go out to all. But we didn't mean any offense to the Ugandans or the organizing committee, and it was just a decision based on taking care of our finances and taking care of basically the funds we'd have to spend, because Safari Rally is a big event, and so I guess that was the main reason. But hopefully we'll be back. Hopefully we get some more sponsors next year to come over to Kampala. We have our Mitsubishi Evo 10 also ready to race, so hopefully we don't have to bring the Ford Fiesta over there, and make it somewhat of a fair race, Evos versus Subarus.
Okay, I happen to have I came for the safari, and I happen to have watched. I saw the Mitsubishi parked somewhere at some mall, and the yellow one. What's the name of that car?
That car is called Phoebe.
Phoebe.
Yeah.
Phoebe. Okay. It looked nice, and I'm like, why doesn't Karan find some time and probably come back to Kampala and use this car for competition? But aside from that, you went and you performed well in Burundi. You won almost everything that was available to be won in terms of stages. How did you rate the event in Burundi? Because they had spent 28 years without hosting an ARC event.
Coming from Kenya, where we have stages that, if you have seen Safari Rally, you're well aware of the stages. we find many other rallies that we participate in the surrounding countries quite good in terms of quality of the road. Safari is always going to be safari, very difficult terrain, very challenging terrain. It's not all about speed, it's about saving the car. Whereas Uganda is also the same, it's challenging with the wet. It's not all about speed, it's about being more consistent in terms of a good average pace. But when you go to Burundi and Rwanda and also Zambia, the roads are quite smooth and fast. Although I would say Zambia is a bit technical, but I would compare Burundi to Rwanda, where you're quite everything is flowing, the speed is quite high, so the overall event in Burundi was nice, well organized for it, to have been the first time after such a long time for the event to be there. So I'm sure they will have their own little list of improvements to make, if any. But for us, we had no issues. The only issue we had was the Subaru who was chasing us down every stage.
That was very Bukera.
Which was quite amazing and impressive. Yes, driven by Bukera. So hats off to him. He actually finished second overall, maybe not in the ARC standings, but overall, Bukera did quite an incredible job, and I think if I had the Evo 10, we'd be having a good race.
Okay, so I remember we did talk to you immediately after you just purchased that car. When you're going to, I remember the first event you did with that car. We did in that car was in Tanzania with Tausif Khan. That's when you reunited with Tausif Khan. Do you remember that interview?
With the Mitsubishi?
No, with that Ford Fiesta, when you just bought that car. I remember we talked to you during when you had the outbreak of the COVID-19.
The Ford Fiesta, actually, the first event we did was, I think, in Nakuru, or somewhere like this. We broke the front right drive shaft, and it was very muddy conditions, so we weren't able to complete the event. Then the time after that, yes, we was in Tanzania. We've been to Tanzania quite a few times, mainly Arusha, if not Dar es Salaam for the ARC.
Okay, so you are third on the championship. You have seen us atop the championship with 78 points. Just Mangat is second with 63. You have 60 points. We still have Rwanda. We have Tanzania, and we also have Zambia. Yeah, I think it is Rwanda, Zambia, Tanzania in that order. Just brought the I-20. I saw him in. We had an event in Festino at Sprint, which he won with Joseph Kamia. The Hyundai. As we preview the event in Rwanda, do you think is he more of a threat in the I-20 than he was in the Evo X, or you think that he needs more time to gel in that car? Like the reason you gave us when you just acquired that car, that the more seat time you have, the better you get.
Yeah, it's always that's a tough one to judge, because it's always dependent on the driver how fast they can adapt to the car. So if you compare Carl Tundo in the 2021 World Rally Championship Safari Rally, it was I think 2021 or 2020 if I'm not mistaken, but it was the first time for him to drive the Polo, and he was incredibly quick, and I think he was the fastest out of all of us. So it depends driver to driver how fast one gets used to the car, but I do see him being more of a threat now in an R5 than he was in an Evo, and we are providing support to both Yasin and Jas from our team engineers who assist them with the car setup and setup changes and general maintenance, if any. So we are one team, regardless of who wins the events. It's a family of sports enthusiasts and drivers who we take care of one another. So when we're on the track, yeah, we're racing, but out of the track, we're all helping one another become better drivers. So, it's it would be nice to have a very tough race in Rwanda. I'm hoping for that. As you may.
Okay. We did we did permutations here in one of our shows regarding the tagline was 2023 ARC permutations, and we saw that for you to win the ARC, you have to win the next 3 events because you have 60 points. If you add the next 3 points, if you add the next 3 events, that is 90 points. You'll end up with 150 points. If Yasin comes second the next 3 events, definitely you will also have 150 points, and it will be a dead hit. And looking at the ARC regulations, a dead hit, if the championship is at the level of a dead hit, the person who has won more events automatically wins the championship. And in that order, if at all you tie in the number of events you've won, then you go to second places, third places, and in that order. What are your plans the next 3 events? Are you going to go all out like you've been doing? Are you going to go all out in the next 3 events, come even Burundi, Tanzania, and Zambia? Or you given the fact that Jas has also joined the mix of with an I-20, you have different you have different approaches of the next 3 events?
As my rally engineer tells me, we don't go to an event to finish second, we go to win. And that's the attitude we always have. So, it's not always a matter of going all out. It's a matter of judging the pack, judging the speed, and doing what you can to stay in the lead, basically. But yeah, let's see how the performance is. Day one of Rwanda. Let's see how they fare in the spectator stage, where we'll be able to then qualify and choose our starting positions. But like I was telling you, now we have Hamza Anwar who will be taking part in Rwanda in his Skoda R5. So there'll be 4 R5 vehicles taking part in Rwanda. And Hamza is not slow. So, it's all going to be, maybe this event will change up the leaderboards if Yasin finishes second or first or third or fourth. Or either of us. Now there's 4 R5, so it's anyone's game. And
then I was in Rwanda last year, and I watched the Mountain Goeralo. You had an issue in the qualifying stage. Did you just how because it affected your day one? The car wasn't moving the way it's meant to move. What happened in the qualifying stage? You hit something, and it affected the performance of the car.
Yeah, basically we hit a concrete flower pot, like a very big flower pot, so we damaged the cooling system of the car. But that was during practice. We were able to repair it and come back for qualifying and win the qualifying. And eventually we won the event. But yes, we had issues with some sensor in the car which was causing it to misfire. So we were down on power. Quite a few times during the event. I would have to switch off the car, switch it back on again. A lot of the times in the stages we'd have to stop, start. So it was very nervous because we were always fighting with Leroy for points, but ultimately he won the ARC. But let's see who wins this year now.
Okay. If God forbid, if you don't win this year's ARC, you still have plans of coming back for that quest? Because I remember in that interview when we talked to you during the COVID-19 pandemic, when we had the lockdown, you said that you had aspirations of being a WRC driver, and you tried. You went to Ford, then drove the R2, then finally came back and got the R5. You said you gave up on your plans of being a WRC driver because it's a logistical nightmare in terms of being one. Should we say if you don't win the RC this year, you definitely give it another try next year?
Yeah, it was my dream, and it is still my dream and aspiration to be a World Rally driver in whatever class it may be for a works team. And this year I became a Red Bull athlete, which has reignited this dream of mine. So if we don't win the ARC, it doesn't really change anything. I would still consider us to be the fastest team on the continent for now. And winning the ARC would be a good title to have under the belt. But I'd rather we spend our dear resources and finances that we have to spend towards rallying, would rather we spend it in rallies out there in Europe where the competition is a bit stiffer and where we can be pushed to learn more, make mistakes and learn more and become better drivers. Because as you could see from the result in Burundi, we won by a huge margin from the next ARC entrant, and we find ourselves just racing by ourselves, and there's nothing to really push us to that next level where I want to be. So there's no guarantee if we don't win this year that we'd be back next year to do the ARC again. But you never know. We'll have to wait and see what next year looks like for us.
Okay, it's been a pleasure, Karan, speaking to us, and I do hope to speak with you. I do hope we speak with you after Rwanda. I know you have a very, very busy schedule, tight schedule, but kindly after the event in Rwanda, irrespective of the performance, we'll definitely call you back and you run us through how the event unfolded for you, and we'll be definitely previewing the event in Zambia, which is the next round. Then Tanzania is the last round of the African Rally Championship. Wish you all the best, best of luck. Send my regards to Tausif Khan and tell him that I wish him the best as a fellow co-driver, and I will definitely be out in Kigali to support you guys.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing you there.
Okay, have a good night, Karan.
Thanks. Good night to you too.
Okay.
To you too.